entered into the breakdown. Let's start off with your topic, Lou. Who speaks for us?
If you're referring to the Jason Black broadcast,
Yeah.
uh, oh man, I mean that shit got my blood heated, and I was fully anticipating disappointment. I was like, oh, he's gonna hold his tongue again. I was like, it was literally he started going after the same people I was saying we need to handle, the cults.
Right.
Like, hey, all these pro-black cults, they're not really pro-black. Like, yo, we got some house cleaning to do. It's like, wow. It's like, damn. But woo.
Literally clean out.
Yeah, hold on, check this out. From my perspective,
Yeah.
what is going on is even new black media that white supremacy calls militant
Yeah.
are not actually militant. They're pulling their punches. They're pulling their words. And even Jason Black, Tariq Nasheed, and Professor Black Truth, with how intelligent they are, I know for a fact they've read some of the genocides I've read and how they were conducted. So they are being diplomatic with black people. They're trying to like say, "Hey, let's rise up and fight back." I think they suspected it from how they were carrying themselves in interviews and when they're correcting people, but they didn't have the public information data pool that we have. So they never got any of the little genome studies or little snippets of a unique marker from a whole different part of the world just suddenly in a black culture and wiping out all the other native black genome sequences. So they could not prove it or build a hypothesis about it happening. They just knew they were black and then they weren't. They're like, that looks pretty criminal. And I'm not hearing people reading the same information. They're not even sharing that Anglo-Saxon study. Think about that. That's a 500 AD AI correlation. Say, hey, white foreign males came into Black Britain 500 AD after the Roman collapse by white Goths on the mainland, and then they changed the legal code, made the word black a slur in England, and just started decreasing the sexual reproductive rate of the native black Britons. What? That just flat out tells you white people came in, made up a whole bunch of laws, and killed every single on their side of the island. Period. 580 onwards. If you had that in your hand, it's like, and no one's even retweeting. They're reading it. It shows how many people are viewing it. So yeah, people are viewing it. There's no retweets, no likes. They're not touching it. They have the definitive proof that South Africa as an apartheid state is not a fluke. That
Right.
Israel as an apartheid state, America as a Jim Crow apartheid state against black natives is not a white cultural fluke. It is the norm. Hindu India, the untouchables, the Dalits, all the shit I was referring to all these decades. I'm like, yeah, now I have another data point that matches everything the black people in ancient times said. Yeah, white people are fucking monsters. Kill them on sight. It's like, whoa.
Well, even when you brought up India, I know India has some of the oldest like caste systems in regards to color and or what we call race today. Um, and in its earliest state, certain people were born from the head or the heart or what have you, and of course, black people were born from the bottom, which would be their foot. And so the caste system there had always been apparently diabolical for anybody of a melanated um, skin tone, even when probably the population at that particular time was probably pretty prosperous in that in India region. Um, this has carried on for quite some time. So I just don't understand how or why there might have been an erasure or a ignorance behind trying to maybe see or even be suspectful or suspecting of the data that is being presented and just not really maybe making sense of it or making publishing of it or making a book of it. Diop, I know with him, he for one, if he couldn't get his dissertation published, which sometimes he could not, because these white scholars, when you do dissertations, you still have to go through the vetting system, and they did not want to approve on a lot of things he might have even found about or said. So he went on to publish books. Those, of course, we don't have books that even delve into that as well. So, um, I mean, it's here and there, but people are pretty scared maybe when it comes to this particular topic, and it remains to be.
There it is. That's what I have to conclude. They're scared. It's not a lack of knowledge, as everyone keeps saying. They're not illogically insane, as other people were telling me. They're cowardly, as all the ancient people said outright. Like, the more ancient records I read, it says, "Yeah, get these black people on code and throw away the rest." It's like, why? Because they're cowards, and the first move they will do is to backstab you instead of fighting the white monsters. And that's like, you think I'm quoting Spartans? Like, no, that's Moses. It's like, that's the mentality of Moses walking the black Hebrews around in the desert according to their mythos. Like, yeah, God can't have you in the Holy Land because you're going to go back to your swirling ways. Like, it's like, wow. Yeah, they are mixing their culture with that other culture that is corrupting them. Oh, I get the metaphor. And what's the penalty for that? Death.
Listen, always.
Then you got the Nubians.
Yeah, go ahead. What about the Nubians?
The Nubians. Yeah, this whole time I thought the Nubians were sitting out most of these race wars. Nah,
Hmm.
they're actively engaged. They're selling black mercenaries all across Europe, all across Eurasia, to fight in other people's wars against white people.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
like, oh,
Oh
interesting.
yeah. Right.
Yeah, yeah,
Definitely. They.
they're the best archers in history. Like, the Romans recruited them, for fuck's sake. Black Romans are hiring black Nubian archers in their Romania and Thracian campaigns. I'm like, why is no one mentioning that Nubians are actively selling elite mercenaries to other black factions? What could they possibly be doing in Eastern Europe at that time? Oh yeah, fighting white people attacking black Rome.
Yeah, that's what the Nubians and or the Kemetu, they were definitely going up into West Asia, West Eurasia, um, and exploring further, and even helping out non-black empires or civilizations. I can't remember who it was that they helped out, and there was a particular pharaoh at that time that helped them out and sent his fleet, of mercenaries down there, and that's what helped to, I think, spark or re-engage a rivalry with the Assyrians, and then that led to eventually being the sack of Thebes, and of course, that we know about that.
Hold on. What time period is that? Is this after 900 BC? Because that's when Assyria became White Assyria.
Oh yeah, it was pretty late. It was pretty late. Yeah, yeah. I don't remember the
Yeah.
time period right now off top, but it was pretty late.
Well, hold on. Well, that's the thing. That's what I'm saying. If if we had black scholarship who weren't cowards, they would have noted the whole racial hostility in the Assyrian Empire chronology at 900 BC, sparking them to go create the Spartan culture as we know it. So the black women are the widows of Assyria that the Spartans mention in their histories. I'm like, what? So I'm like, these scholars seriously have access to all of these archives and data mines, and they take one look at it, like, oh, it's a fucking race war. Like, they got Zerg rushed by a whole bunch of white people coming from Kazakhstan, calling themselves the Turkics, not Turks. Turkics. It means Turk-like. They're not Turks. Turks are black. We know that from the Trojans and all these other people who said we're black. So, awesome. So the black scholars sat down in these libraries and colleges, read all of that data that the public does not have, did not share it with Diop or Wakanan or Sertima, and then I stumble upon it by myself. And when I present it back to the same black scholars and their children, they're telling me I'm imagining the racial hostility that is being described by the ancient black people against ancient white people. Everyone just starts babbling like, "No, you're misinterpreting the data." Like, No, it literally says they got wiped out by an invasion of white people, and then they went and made a black supremacist faction, and then counterattacked into Greece, killing white northern Greeks.
Let's. We got a couple of topics we still need to go through. Um, and I really wanted to also touch on the fact that Bruce's beaches, the beach that the black family had owned, it got sold back to California. Um, and then that was a pretty recent topic as of this week, so I really wanted to delve into it. Um, Big Will, did you hear about this particular case?
Yeah, I did.
The I mean, really, what did you really think about it? Because of the simple fact that they did honor their great relatives by being able to fight for the beach in which they had rightfully had owned at one particular point, and then they had ownership of it, and then as of this week they were then sold it back for $20 million. Were they lowball? Anybody?
100%. You could definitely turn that area. But I've been to that area. I live in LA, and it's a really nice beach area. I mean, it's a lot of different things you could have did with that, and you would have made. You could even got certain investors behind it. You could have got them to put a cash infusion that would have pretty much, paid for you to start all your businesses. But the thing is, what they also put is the family specifically put a clause in there where they could sell it back to California for their super lowball value of 20 million, which is what I believe that might have been set up from the beginning because you know that's such a huge publicity stunt and that's such a big thing to carry through. It's very, very difficult. When you talk about all the existing businesses there, it's like a whole strip of stuff going on there. So you're talking about a complete change in ownership and everything. So for the sake of, the Manhattan city of California, but all those beaches are really small cities for real.
Yeah.
Um, it it probably would have caused a lot of hiccups for them. I think the family was lowballed. I believe the family should have did the deal. Even if they made them sell it back, they should have kept that shit anyway and made them sue it for them.
All right. So your position is that they definitely should have kept it, or maybe gotten more money for it.
Kept it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, definitely. Lou, you had something to say for it?
Yeah, black people got to figure out soft genocide, as Jason Black calls it. Gentrification is the other term they use in the media. So if white people can gentrify our economics, black people should just copy paste and do unto others as has been done unto them, as every religion originally said.
Yeah, it was definitely a low ball. I think they should have definitely kept it. Big Will, are you out in California?
Right now,
You
I'm
know?
on the East Coast.
Oh, you in East Coast, but you from California?
Nah, I live there now. I'm from the East Coast.
Oh, got you. So, are you familiar with that beach?
I've been there like once or twice.
Yeah. They So, I mean, how big is it? Is it? I mean, for you to say they should have kept it, was there any or any type of benefit outside of the obvious when you're looking at the square feet of the beach or where it's located particularly? um what what makes it stand out? How big is it? What's the case for that particular beach, if you know?
So I believe Manhattan Beach is a part of Venice Beach or Venice. I don't know if you play like Tony Hawk or whatever or any of those
uh
games.
right.
But Manhattan is like the northern side. If I'm see, I'm vaguely pulling from what I remember because I've only been there like once or twice.
Yeah.
But it's the nicer side. The richer people be over there. And it's a lot of business. There's a lot of buildings, a lot of apartment overlooking the beach and stuff. It's a tremendous opportunity to make a lot of money, man. You're talking about restaurants, you're talking about vendors, like you got like little kiosk set up out there. You know what I'm saying? Like
Okay.
all lined up and stuff, and they're all making money. There's different things you could do to make that 20 million in 1 year, or to 1 to 3 years easily, I believe, instead of just selling it back and then kind of cutting off the revenue stream. I feel like that was a very rookie move. Maybe even like play like they forced them to make the move. They probably pigeonholed them into it.
Probably so. I mean, it reminds me of that situation also in New York. There was a landmass over in New York that was owned now by a black family, and then they went ahead and sold it recently. Go ahead, Lou.
New Black Media also brought up that they didn't have liquid assets, aka cash, sitting in a vault somewhere to develop the land. So part of that the return of the property should have included cash reparations as well. So that whole thing was set up for their failure, and we need to acknowledge that as people going forward. If you get what do you call it? It's called a white elephant. If you get a large gift that is high maintenance and you have zero liquid assets, you have to sell the gift eventually or go bankrupt. So it was a white elephant, and that is another genocidal tactic. And it's known for hundreds of years, so nobody's dumb about this.
Okay, makes sense. Absolutely too. And another topic that's been pretty crazy as of recently, also the why so many young people, particularly young black men, are dying of these heart failures. We recently had uh, Dummer Hamlin, who also, he went out. I mean, how is his update? Is his update any better that we know of? Y'all following along with that story?
Negative. Lucifer is not following black athletes. They don't help us.
Wait, you talking about the Buffalo Bills player?
Yeah. Him.
He started talking. I'm from Buffalo. That's where I'm from. He
Okay.
started talking, and he's calling his teammates and stuff via FaceTime right now. But I mean, there's a greater issue at hand that no one's really talking about. It's been about, I think, this week, including him, because technically on the field, all of his vitals stopped. Medically, by definition, he died.
Yeah.
Um, so it's been about five NFL players. Two of them was my age, 133, 132, and they played on the Broncos Super Bowl with Peyton Manning. It was like insane to see them die with the same age. But yeah, five NFL players have died in about the last month. One has been revived, which is Damon, the Buffalo Bills player. So that's like really scary, and they're all pretty much dying from heart issues.
Yeah, and there was another one too, African.
Yeah, Ume, he was really adamant about medical science and trusting the doctors. He even was going in on people that wouldn't take the vaccine, like personally, as a famous
Damn.
NFL player. Like he was going in on people on Twitter.
And his was a sudden passing, right? He wasn't actively playing.
Yeah, his was, well, he wasn't actively playing, but he was still athletic and very healthy. There's a lot of people that was
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
about
yeah.
how they were going to start a business with him in terms of some athletic realm. Uh, and he just died suddenly. Mentioning died suddenly, they got a post about him on there. They got his post where he's advocating for the vaccine. Then they got the next post, RIP.
Yeah, that was pretty that's crazy right there. Um, and Can I or Miles, you wanted to speak on that particular topic too?
Yeah, like for me, like I used to play football like in high school, and as soon as I seen, like how he got hit, I'm like, man, like I remember, how I got hit like that, but like I know how it feels, man, like you get hit you know, and then you hit back, but the way how he got hit, it's like it just knocked the wind out of him, and I was just looking at the TV screen saying, yo, like like is dude gonna, stand up or what's gonna happen? But like he was laying there for like minutes, and I'm like, okay, like I think he's hurt, and then like I seen the medical team, like I'm like, oh god, yeah, like I think this is serious, man. I think like the way how he got hit is you know you know very 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 crucial, like that kind of crucial point. And when they brought him in, like to the to the EMT, I'm like, wow, did this dude just die or something? So when I was reading the reports, I'm like, damn, he's in critical condition. So, like, yeah, like like this stuff is serious though. I couldn't believe it though, because like we all used to play football, in high school, college, and like like we all like tackle people, and we all been tackled, and we never been through that though. So like I know how it feels though, but it's very sad. It's like a very sad
Agreed.
watch.
I want to add to your point. I want to add to your point, bro, because he actually wasn't the one that got hit. He was the one tackling and then fell out.
Yeah, I was looking at the replay, and like that collision, like that's a type of like like a standard collision, but you know
Very standard.
yeah, but
A low impact collision.
yeah, just by watching that, I'm like, wow, I couldn't believe it
But
though.
it just makes it so bad because it's like, how are you? Like, he's defense. And then he hit someone so hard that he passed out.
Yeah, like that part didn't make no
No,
sense to me though. Like I'm like, what happened? Like how did this collision, like occurred though? Like, is there like any good angles, or like how? Like, where did you get hit?
no, you're not. Hold on, hold. This I got it. You're not hallucinating. That was a high torque, low direct. What's the word? Interception. When two things collide directly in physics, there's a special term for it. High kinetic. Yeah, there we go. Kinetic. That was low kinetics. So he did not jolt his heart until he got an arrhythmia. That's pseudoscience. What happened is his myocarditis or pericarditis from the constant vaccine boosters they're using to even qualify to attend these games dissolved the outer layers of tissue on his heart. That's it. So he got extra excited about landing that easy ass tackle, hopped to his feet, causing a surge of blood pressure, and then his heart tissue just ruptured. It's like cutting his nerve endings, who knows? But his heart looks like a paper shredder or a lawnmower ran over it, probably. And they just had to regrow it while he's in intensive care. Did you guys notice the lack of connection between the FDA telling about the clot issue and the incident? Did anyone notice that at all? No one has mentioned the side effects of the vaccine.
Not at all. But actually, one of his teammates came out and Cole Beasley was telling last year, I believe, about how Cole Beasley was on the Bills, and he also probably saw him get the vax because he's one of the younger players. But Cole Beasley for the Bills basically said he was like, basically if you want to get on an NFL roster now, you have to be vaxxed. You gotta take every booster. You got to be 100% down with the plan and do whatever they say. And he was saying, it's affecting a lot of younger players, and he had to speak out about it because he saw too much going on. But he was like, the older players didn't really make him do it, but the younger players was like, you're doing it or you cut.
Yeah, I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but like I think like it was because like
No, 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 no! Don't fall for that. Conspiracy theorist. The term was made up by the CIA, United States military, 1950s. Project Blue Book, I believe it was called. But yeah, they can control any narrative by labeling you, let's say, a hotep. There you go. That's the other word for counterintelligence. They're weaponizing counterintelligence. They're labeling you a thing you are not before you even open your mouth to correct the general public. That is weaponization of speech. These people are insidious. So let's get gamed up here real quick. I've been following the COVID pandemic for about the last 2 years or earlier by accident. mRNA vaccine was tried 15 years ago in the United States of America. It killed 300 infants, American citizens. So they know the mRNA protein vaccine does not work, period. I could swear I told some people, but if you go to my profile and type in the hashtag #VaxTheBlacks, all one word, VaxTheBlacks, VaxTheBlacks, you will see all of my posts linking to all the studies all the whistleblower doctors put out, showing clear as day, one, it's a bioweapon program that leaked out unintentionally, and two, the only reason they designed it was for racial or ethnic cleansing. That's what the Chinese proposed in 2011 to the United Nations. UN did not object. So 2012, America sent $3.7 million through the University of North Carolina. And they also sent their leading experts on the SARS, the SARS disease itself, to China. And then they sent the French construction workers to build the 4th floor of the Wuhan bioweapon facility in China. Dr. Fauci was involved. Bill Gates was involved. Other people who want black people off the planet are involved. But yeah, the Chinese fucked up, and the rest is the reality we now live in. And the companies have, what do you call it, immunity from lawsuits. Well, except for Canada. The white Canadians are suing, and they're not taking no for an answer. But yeah, it's some cyberpunk dystopian shit we're living in right now. Let me just land this plane here. Yeah, myocarditis, MYOCARDITIS. You can Google that. It has been confirmed as a side effect of the vaccines by the FDA.
Yeah, he was definitely dead for for who knows how long. Like I think they revived him a minute later, but he definitely did die on the field with cardiac arrest. And I'm like, dude is like 24. He's way too young for that. Like 24, years old. You'd be running circles.
Hold up, I gotta add something scarier than that. In UK, starting end of last year or early this year, they were vans rolling around to the public with images stating that 12 years old is not too young for a stroke, and they have montages on Instagram and TikTok showing all the young athletes around the world who are just it looks like they're being struck by lightning. They're on the field, they're running around, they're catching a ball, knocking something back, and then they just go directly erect and fall down on their back. I was like, yeah. Oh, referees included. So everybody who has been vaxxed or heavily exposed to someone who has also been vaxxed is now experiencing protein shedding and what's that doctor lady called it? Reverse negative efficacy. Negative efficacy. Google that term. That's what happened during the first mRNA vaccine program 15 years ago under whooping cough or pertussis. So yes, the doctors who made this thing did it the vaccine itself is made in a hurry, and it is not based on the original genome for the bioweapon that the Chinese made. That's why it doesn't work. The Chinese withheld the original bioweapon strain that leaked out because if you spent all those 10 years making a bioweapon in a secret lab and then you gave the public the antidote, you look pretty damn stupid. Oh man, this is bad. This is really bad. But I can't stop laughing.
Well, I mean, the good thing about Hamlin is that I think he had a toy drive or something he does annually, and that went up significantly since his ordeal. So there's going to be a lot of warm hearts and payoffs because of this tragic event. It was kind of sad seeing him just completely be aloof. He was very much active 1 minute and then completely just went aloof and just completely just melted down into the ground. And that's how I describe it. He just kind of just fell, and it was kind of just it wasn't stiff. It was just almost like, I don't know. It's kind of crazy. But yeah. So the next topic I did want to get into also, um, destruction of the Mayan historical sites that's been going on as of recently, as Mexican government they plow and plunge into sacred forests that was host of many of the ancient Mesoamerican civilizations. Um, I believe, I forget the number, but they where they are trying to build these highways and other constructions or what have you. Since the archaeologists have been privy to this information, they have been going into the area as they did with the ancient Egyptian or the Nubians and or what have you. I don't really want to say Nubians because they're not really Nubians. But when they went down to Aswan and started to do a surplus of archaeological expeditions down into Aswan to try to recover as much as they could, and that's how we know now of that incense burner with the white crown that showed that uh, what they called Nubia was actually likely the spur or the starting point of what came to be Egypt. But going back to the subject, if this is going on now, it's funny how history repeats itself. Archaeologists have to go down there and they're doing diligent work to try to recover as much as they can because these governments don't give a fuck about history or about history, or what we should be really caring about is really just a total different level of disrespect, in my opinion, when it comes down to this. Lou, I knew you had a lot to say about this.
It should be de facto that Anglo imposters will not protect or archive black Negroid artifacts, no matter what part of the planet it's on. They didn't do it in Egypt. They tried their best to hide them or alter them. They're not going to do it in the Mayan region, which is my ancestral migration from Peru when Lucia woman got here to the Caribbean. So I fully expect they're going to find even bigger, more Negroid faces and imagery and iconography, and they're just going to shatter it all and turn it into filling material for the highway. Fuck it. But the question really is, what do we as black people who are now finding out that the indigenous people look exactly like us and our relatives do about all this vandalism? That's what the Black Romans called it. That is now still occurring in 2022, when the last time it happened on this scale was 410 AD or 1492 AD. So the question is to the audience, not to me. What are we doing for this new year to stop these pale pretenders and imposters going around saying, "Oh, I'm Mayan, and I can destroy this heritage and all these artifacts if I need to"? Okay, your ancestors called the Mayans the Mayate, which a Hispanic person pointed out to me very clearly as an insult, means the small black insects. Your black bugs. Wow, that's what they called my Carib ancestors in the Aztec and Mayan kingdoms. Insects to be squashed. So we got to come up with some new agendas. We got to make some new codification for the new year, because I'm sick and tired of someone saying, what do we do about them paving over our genetic and cultural heritage? You shouldn't be asking that. You should already know who to call in that country to have a few people disappeared, just like they did to our ancestors. Just that simple. I got to make some calls myself. I haven't spoken with my direct genetic family in about a year and a half because they said some anti-black stuff about FBA black people. So I cut them off cold fucking turkey. I'm like, yo, no, It's a brand new day. It's like, woo! So if I go back to my home islands, I'm gonna go back with a memorized list of all the conversations I had with those relatives and how anti-black they were against other black people who are fighting to defend their black heritage. It will not be what's the word? Well, you know what? I'm not even gonna say anything. It's be about it time.
Yeah, Dr. Runoko Rashidi must be like rolling over in his grave because is no way in hell he would have been allowing this or definitely disgruntled by it, as we should, of course, and it's something to definitely delve into. And I again thank Ace for informing me about that information. I thought that was pretty sick to see that history repeating itself once again. Um, at the very least, I want to see what can be done about it, of course, and engage into it. Seeing what these archaeologists have found um, for these excavations since then. Maybe they don't go through with it, but it's something that needs to be spoken about, and the more people are silent about it, of course, it's going to just continue. They don't give a damn about that and that history. They give a damn about those highways. They give a damn about um, other ridiculous things that probably really wouldn't matter. And it's just delving deeper into this white mind frame to come up with more ways to cause destruction. I mean, I just didn't. I don't really see much of a benefit in trying to seize and completely destroy and plunder the Amazon forest or just the forest there in general. But yeah, we see that happen there. White supremacy success. Lou just put up in the chat. Um, but if that's all we have for the Mayan historical sites, I'm going to also move on to the next subject.
Hold on. I just have to
Uh-huh.
do an addendum. I would like to also point out that the reason they burnt down the Museum of Brazil was over the full sequencing of Luzia woman for the second time. So, if they had sequenced her, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. They'd be finding new unique gene markers from an indigenous fossil that linked directly to Caribbean, FBA, and Afro Hispanics right now. All of our genetic lineages would have been validated as Native Americans from at least 14,000 BC. They burnt 3 million artifacts for 3 days to make sure not a single fucking hair cell survived. These people they're getting thorough with the white purge. When they are done, there will not even be a record of black people existing on this fucking planet. I can assure you of that because I've seen what they've done throughout history to other black populations. They're going through the rainforest, Maroc, because the LiDAR technology is now revealing where all the hidden and lost temples and city-states are. They can scan the Congo from space and tell us where Eden is. They know where every single artifact is. They just have to come up with a cover story for why they're bulldozing through the next Black Atlantis. That's what's going on. And I'm going to be blunt because we're out of time. Not in this space. In general, as a species.
Yeah, that was crazy too. It's been a lot of if you really think about it, it's been a lot of burning of these historical sites or museums or libraries. It's been happening. One happened with the African American Museum somewhere. Um, one also recently happened. Where was it? I can't remember where it was.
Black churches, don't forget the black churches that hold genealogy records for the American Indians.
Well, yes. Yeah, a lot of black churches have been burning for a while. Big Will can probably speak to that because a lot of the black churches out in California were definitely being burnt down um, in response to also a big wave of racial things going on between the Mexicans and blacks over there as well. There's also have been a burning of museums over in Africa as well. I forget where it was. It might have been South Africa, but it was completely devastated, burned. I can't even go into the details of how much information had been lost and how much uh, historical things were in there. And then you've also gotten, I talked about this one of our last spaces, of course, the extremists going into Timbuktu and destroying monuments, iconography, manuscripts, a couple of their libraries, a lot of things that UNESCO had actually codified it as a historical site is no more. And, it's to the point where you can't even get into Timbuktu without being escorted by the military there. Yeah, there's been a complete purge of information, our history, and I don't think it's for naught. It's definitely intentional.
Hold on. My brother just sparked another correlation. When white supremacists in Jim Crow America wanted to get rid of the Black Wall Streets, they didn't attack each of them physically and directly. They picked the biggest ones to do that. But the smaller Black Wall Streets, hundreds of individual segregated towns, what they did was just build highways through them, unnecessary highways. So they had the most efficient route from point A to point B, but then they would stretch the highway like 25% or more over to the left or the right to pave through the black neighborhoods, utterly destroying them and buying them up under eminent domain. So that's what they're doing in those forests. It's the same tactic applied to a different location for a similar reason, really. And I'm going to land on that.
No, absolutely. It's definitely been a weird trend that they've been trying to do. I just Googled some, and even one last year in the Congo, the Gungu Museum had a bunch of thousands of their artifacts destroyed in a fire as well. This is repeated, and this isn't this isn't one of those things. Again, by chance, this isn't a coincidence. I tweeted about that not too long ago. When you're starting to see patterns, don't just think that they're coincidences. Those are intentional.
Well, hold on. I'd really like to hear some feedback from the room because this stuff is 3,500 years of the same stuff. I want to know what we're going to be doing about it from the audience. Specifically, we got to start addressing white supremacy as a religion. That's what Sir Neely Fuller Jr., a black man who's still alive today, I think he's biracial, but he is the most on-code motherfucker besides Jason Black and Tariq Nasheed and Professor Black Truth. And I consider him the second coming of Frances Cress Welsing because that's her mentor. And nobody in the black community or intelligentsia is promoting his philosophy on white supremacy, which is get reparations or die trying. And that's bizarre to me that he predicts their fear of white genetic annihilation, which he inspired Dr. Frances Cress Welsing to write. And he even goes into detail on all of their modern strategies. Like he has a saying called distract, deflect, deny. So if they can't take something, they deny you having it by burning it down or destroying it themselves, breaking their tools. If they see you get an agenda and focus pinpoint on them, they create a whole new faction of non-white supremacy for you to go chase after. Like say LGBT or the Arabs or Jews. They'll say Jews or Hispanics. It's like, yeah, all of those groups will be white supremacists, but they will identify as the incorrect label, a fallacious label, to keep black people from discussing the main problem. White people erasing black people in real time. So we need to get laser locked in on these people this year. Like the last time I saw people spontaneously doing it was after the George Floyd uprisings. People were blocking the streets, interrupting white economics and white logistics, damn near breaking the economy of the United States of America and henceforth the Anglospheric world.
The same thing they're doing in Haiti right now.
It's like,
Everybody knows the tactics. You stop the fucking logistics, you don't have a country.
yeah, white people are doing the same uprising tactic in Haiti. If you heard my brother in the background, they're just stopping Haitians from doing business. Period. George Floyd protesters stood in the middle of those American highways built over their ancestors' bones and cities, and the American economy went into a recession, like within a few weeks. So, like, amazing. They didn't do it on purpose. That was the problem. That upset me the most in the last 2 years. Like, oh, you literally found out by accident how to destroy white supremacy, cut their fucking money off at the at the throat. Like, wow. It's like, and what did people do? They didn't get armed, they didn't get organized, and they didn't hire their own black attorneys, which is very bizarre. Because if I wanted to do a peaceful protest and have it hurt, I would be in the middle of those streets, so just standing there. That's it. That's all you got to do. White people are not going to commit suicide to move you off that road. They'll come up with other tactics, distract, deflect, deny, but they will not engage you in a shootout right there in broad daylight in the middle of the road where you have the popular vote.
What are you talking about? Even fist fights. You seen the Proud Boys being run off the block?
Oh shit! Okay, well,
Dylan Roof.
yeah.
Dylan go fight.
So the black audience is listening to these talks about ancient history and how ancient black people fought back against white supremacy multiple times and won multiple times. Should know by now how to win against white supremacy. Period.
The Proud Boys constantly get their ass handed to them, though, because I heard that comment. Yeah, they are. They're a special type of people. To be so bold to go into predominantly black cities, like, first of all, they came to Philly, where I am. They came to Philly and tried that shit, and it didn't go by pretty well at all. I mean, when we're talking about a city that shows out against white supremacy, is definitely Philly. I would definitely want to propose that we do we do show out, but at the same time, it was, when they want to do tactics like that, they know um how they want to engage in it. But unfortunately, it failed when it came over here, and it should be failing more often than not. It shouldn't just be um Philly or another particular city. I mean, everywhere they go, they should just be getting shunned, should just be getting shoved to the side. um their rhetoric is just not inviting. Um, but even going back to the subject of these historical Mayan sites and ancient Mesoamerican sites that are, of course, being destroyed, Mexico has never really cared um, much about. They might have cared about their particular monuments, these great pyramids over there. Um, of course.
They don't care about those either. Like,
Well, they
they
care about it
only
they do care about it to a certain extent. I mean, it's bringing in money. It's just like
yeah, there we go. That
it's
white
just like Egypt.
economic
If you
lifeline.
make that a cash cow, that's all they give a fuck about. They don't really give a fuck about the history. If the
Okay,
money,
so how do we win against white supremacists in Mexico at those monuments? Oh yeah, if they build the highway, armed black people show up at the tourist sites and stay there until the money dries up. Oh,
militant,
look at that. Solution found. Amazing.
militant. Well, first of all, we got to get black people on code about their own damn history, because it seems like, if we're just going by Twitter, at least, it seems like a lot of these people don't even know their real history. So that's just a problem in and of itself. The fact that they don't know um, so many vast cultural ties that we went over, and we need to really go over again, that they just completely just don't know about or ignore, evade, is weird as fuck, and that's why I go out of my way to make
Distract,
sure I'm
deflect,
correct.
deny.
Oh yeah, absolutely, because we do it to ourselves. So that's why I be on their ass about it. I be on their ass about it. I don't like people going around liking disinformation. I'm going to correct you on it. Anytime I see it. Go ahead, Lou.
Yeah, that seems to be the biggest pushback I've gotten on each of these spaces. They keep telling me, one, you can't tell another black person that their stated fact was incorrect, and two, it's rude to interrupt someone when they're literally doing a Street Fighter combination of debunked white supremacist talking points. I'm like, those two things mean you will never get educated. Period. I don't care what topic you're talking about. Like, and this is not even tolerated in ancient times. They say if a man tells you something wrong, smack the taste out of his mouth and let him ask you the question. Like, wait, why did you smack the taste out of my mouth? Like, because you just told me a lie. That's why I called Bodhi a sophist. A sophist. It's a paid liar. So I'm like, oh, it's not a sycophant. That's an ass kisser. A sycophant tells you every lie you want to hear. A sophist is paid flat out just to keep filling your head with bullshit. He doesn't care if you like it or not. He'll just say whatever he needs to get the edge on you.
Might as well be a lawyer.
So that's the ancient term for lawyers, sophist, paid liars.
Well, it's very fitting because Bodhi's a lawyer. But no, that clip that clip is actually doing wonders. You know, it's still doing good. It's actually the biggest streamed and downloaded episode we've had since November. With since and that November, that episode was the Ancient Black American History one that we did. So yeah, that clip is definitely has been helping out the the podcast. That whole thing between you and Bodhi, crazy. Um, but yeah, when we're talking about this government, again, this government is the same government who only just recently even recognized their black population. For the longest time, they weren't even on the census. So you know, we have to understand that, you know, are they really going to give a damn about historical sites unless it is in the form of these ridiculous amounts of cash cow payments, and that is in the form of tourism, of course. Um, so, and they also know that the deeper they go, the further they go back, the blacker it gets. They understand that at this point. That's exactly why they don't want to continue doing excavations at a lot of these sites, or even over in was it where was it? In Easter Island as well. It's completely illegal to continue doing the excavations, even if it's. I can understand if it has, you know, a possibility of excavating a tomb. Regardless of that. I'm talking about even the continued evidence that they could find. They understand the deeper it gets, the further it goes back, the blacker it gets. Go ahead, Lou.
Yes, those pre-pharaonic hieroglyphs in the Somali caves. Has anyone heard anything on those? I discovered that years ago by accident. I was like, oh yeah, I'll just wait for the update on that. I was naive back then. This was like 5+ years ago. So I just assumed white academics were neutral on the subject matter. I was like, oh, okay, well, their ancestors are evil, but they've turned over a new leaf. Or that's what Obama and all of his traitorous flunkies were telling me. It's like, yeah, no. It's like, so what else? They found, the Reshat structure, Atlantis, exactly where Plato and Herodotus drew them a fucking map. So I was like, well, shit. I was like, they have the map, they have Plato's detailed account of how to travel there on land and by boat. And it used to be flooded back in ancient times because that white boy went to the local Mauritanian museum and they already had the fossilized, what do you call it? Not even fossilized. They were almost modern seashells recovered from the landscape of that half of Mauritania. So the guy was like, yeah, this literally was flooded by the Atlantic Ocean possibly a few thousand years ago. That is super recent. So I'm like, okay, cool. They got all forensics. Plato's account matches up. Herodotus' map matches up. They're going to announce that this is Atlantis after about a year or two. Nothing. Absolutely nothing on the Reshat structure other than, quote, conspiracy theorist and, quote, Hotep Afrocentrics. So I'm like, yeah, where's the black pushback when they're looking at forensic evidence that a white boy is holding in his hand? He literally filmed the site. It has black people there, and it has the ancient brick masonry of the Atlantean people still standing in the dead center of that fucking structure. It's like hundreds of kilometers across. He gets to the center, and there's a square temple-like building still on site. Like, oh really? Nothing. Our codification as B1 members is atrocious. If this is the kind of pushback we're giving right now, we're done. It's like we're not gonna make it. It's like every single black member in these groups that is seeing all these receipts, seeing all this forensics, seeing all these revelations, biblical at times, with DNA to back it up, and just going, "Oh, I read your post, but I'm not gonna share it." At that point, we have to start realizing we have far more traitors and backstabbers and cowards than our brains are telling us we do. If we're if our emotions are guiding our perceptions, we gotta throw that shit out the window like a cucked. What's the word? There's a word for when your wife cheats on you and has someone else's baby. Anyone know that term? I know it's cuckery, but what do you call a bastard baby? There we go. Throw that emotional content right out the fucking window like a bastard baby. It ain't yours. It don't belong here. It ain't gonna help you in the future. Get it out. Emotions gone. Religion gone. If that religion ain't saying grab these motherfuckers by the head and slap the taste out their mouth until they confess, oh yeah, your ancestors built this, and then start signing checks, we shouldn't even be tolerating it. And we can't tolerate it from black people inside these groups that we have formed, still coming back like Rob, talking crazy shit to black people, saying we're pseudo and we're hotep and all this nonsense. No, no. Every single member in that group should have jumped on his ass for the last 2 weeks. Like, hey, Rob, real quick. There's someone should have pulled him aside, screenshotted what you discussed. Like, hey, I told him we got evidence of this. I told him we got evidence of this. He's still saying white man ice is colder. Okay, cool. Rob, apologize publicly on air or get the fuck be gone. I
So
literally
they
said that to
never,
that white liberal.
so they never did delve into those Somali caves.
Yeah, they said they found caves with pre-pharaonic hieroglyphs, and they were
No,
like,
I'm
"Oh, we're gonna
saying,
come back."
was it we have evidence of it? Did they excavate it? What did they?
They did not excavate it. They walked
Oh,
into the caves, saw the hieroglyphs on the walls, said there were crude markings indicating Egyptian origin or some shit, and then they
okay.
just left. It was like, well, they said they were going to get back to it later when they got funding. And that was the last. That's the last I ever fucking hear of those
Well, we
caves.
know,
Like, wait, where are those?
we already know, and any place outside of Egypt doesn't really get no fucking funding. They don't give a fuck. Ain't no funding going on there.
Yes, but they're only funding Egypt because they've whitewashed Egypt.
Oh
That's a
yeah,
pattern.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Well,
once they
yeah, they
whitewash Europe, they call
psychologically
it White Europe.
whitewashed Egypt.
Okay.
Yeah, they definitely did psychologically whitewash it.
No, physically whitewashing. That's why I
Oh
kept
yeah,
sending people to Real
yeah,
History.
physically too. Yeah, yeah, you can
Yeah,
say
they're
physically.
using a toothpaste with whitener in it when they're scrubbing the artifacts. Did you know about that? Yeah, bleaching toothpaste is being applied to sensitive pigments that are organic pigments. So we're using harsh modern chemicals to clean ancient organic objects. And then they just say, oh, well, the skin lightening is the original tone now that we've used a bleaching agent on it. And I'm like, wait a minute. If the object is thousands upon thousands of years old and the pigment is organic, don't organic pigments fade naturally over time? So if they're that black when you found them, to restore it, you'd have to make it dark as the day it was painted. That's darker, not paler. And all these people with chemical degrees, biochemist, Fred Johnson, the biochemist, I haven't heard him point that out. That's kind of weird. He needs to, hey, buddy, you ain't you're dismantling white supremacy and all their lies. You need to go too.
Yeah, that's definitely probably going to be another breakdown episode because um, it's something that we can touch on. And when I say that, I'm talking about the fact that there is so many fake busts from Nefertiti to um, the seated scribe to um, Rahotep and his wife. There's another one. I can't remember the name. It starts with an H. But yes, so many fake busts, so many reimagined, reconstructed um, statues as well, and iconography and relics that we can go down a list of that will probably be approached in like one of the topics for like another breakdown possibly to look into. Um, Ace also brought up the fact that there was that Trey brought up that there was possible Bushmen. Ace pointed out that the fact that they found Bushmen or Sand people, a population of them over in Somalia. Did you hear about that?
Negative. No one's gonna retweet that to me, bro. Like
Yeah, I need
our
to see
people are
that.
not okay.
Ace, put that in the Tron or something because I need to. If Trey did bring that up about, I want to see that because I didn't know much about it. But yeah, if that was the case, I mean, it really wouldn't be that surprising to me. I mean, again, whether they are the oldest or not, they are one of the oldest um, populations, and for them to be there, probably not really that surprising. The same people, of course, and they've been.
Hold on. Gotta correct you. Khoisan. San people are not a real tribe.
Well, yeah, I'm making the distinction there, whether that would be considered the Khoisan, Sand, Bushman, these different names.
Okay, well, hold on. Well, let's try this paradigm. Hutu and Tutsi, those sound like two tribes. They're
Hmm.
not. They're literally one tribe. The white people split them based on their phenotype,
Yeah,
and they're literally mixed African tribes. That is one population. So that's what's going on in South Africa as well. The Khoisan, they split the Khoisan into the Khoi, the black ones, the
hmm.
majority black ones by far, and oh yeah, the yellow ones we're gonna call Sand people, and they must be the original yellow Asians. That's how we're gonna whitewash Asia. Yay! Thanks, white people. That's literally that's what they're doing. That's why they're trying to push all the genome of Homo sapien towards Southern Africa because they've already created their Creole population down there that they're gonna put the mantle of human origin on, and that they've been doing it for the last 10 years. I've been watching all the gene studies from 10 years ago on Real History Worldwide, keeping a big ass database and screenshots, and it's like, oh yeah, mtDNA for human females branched 150,000 BC in Central Africa near Mega Lake Chad and that whole river basin I was focusing on by accident. So they're like, okay, all human females come from one mother in Central Africa. Every single study after that consistently says Eastern Africa, Southern Africa, Eastern Africa, Southern Africa, Northern Africa, maybe, Middle East, maybe. I've never seen them just say flat out Homo sapiens arose as a population with vocal cords, the unique gene marker for vocal cords in Central Africa. That's where it came from. They were they had the British in the colonial times even said they banned the drumming system and they
Yeah,
banned the river shouting system.
yeah, they
I
did
was
that
like, what
in
the fuck is
America as well.
yes, the Indian war dances, or as
Yeah.
they called it, jumping Jim Crow. What? Negroes are called jumping Jim Crows because all of them claim to be Indians and they all do these war dances on the plantation 1600s through 1700s. Oh, like it's not a mystery, people. They know what they did, and our black scholars know what they did because they wrote it fucking down. It's like, okay, so if the river shouting system is already advanced in Central Africa when they're going through Nigeria to get to the heart of darkness of Africa, and they're banning the black people from river shouting, which is to aim your voice at the water of a body of water and just shouts in a special way, so where you can talk at conversational tone across miles of body of water. It's like, wait, what? It's like, yeah, the black Bantu people of Central Africa already pioneered a system of sonic or acoustic harmonization with bodies of fluid so they can speak down the river to a whole nother community 5, 10, 15 miles away without having to raise their vocal cords. It was like, what the fuck? That's some sci-fi shit. That's in Dune, the voice. It's like, yeah, I'm river speaking. It's like guy just walks to the edge of the water and puts his hand in his mouth and just aims at a certain angle and just starts talking to his neighbors 5 miles away. And he puts his hand in his ear and can hear his neighbors speak back. And they arrange this at certain times of day and use the drums as signals for when they pass on messages by the local bodies of water. This is Central African culture and science and technology. And the British said, that's now illegal. If we catch you doing it, we're killing you.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yo, what the fuck is going on here?
Real shit, and it was remarkable to see that this same thing was happening over in America as well. When these natives, the Native Americans that were already there, and these other Africans that came over during the slave trade, they noticed that they were communicating with drums, and during their powwows, they noticed that that was going to be disastrous because they would execute. They found out it was a pattern that they would execute and communicate during these violent outcomes after these drumming and this outcry would happen, and so yeah, they would try to make that illegal, and they caught on to it. And I remember even watching. I read about it, but then I also watched it on this movie this black man did on America, and it was basically really about spirituality. It's about hoodoo, and I think it's called United States of Hoodoo, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, and it was an Indian or a Redskin Native American man and a black man going back and forth about the history and powwows and what have you. And yeah, that those war drums and the fact that they literally came over from Africa and were communicating with the natives already there. What does that tell you?
That there's a pan-Negroid monoculture that predates everyone's assumption of the Bantu expansion.
Oops.
That's literally what all the evidence says.
Oops. We don't want to. They don't really want to talk about shit like that, for real.
Hold on. Not only do white supremacists not want to talk about it, black people don't want to talk about it.
Oh, of course.
That's why I'm going on the warpath. I'm calling everybody out. I'm sick and tired of it because what you just brought up about the drums, I've already forgotten more hyper ancient revelations than I can recall in most of these spaces. My brother has to sit in the background to remind me of shit I told him in the last 2 years because my brain is just getting fucking blown out every fucking 2 weeks. I'm like, okay, the drums, the codified drums in Africa, it's a coded system. It literally tells you time of day, weather reports, and meetings between different linguistic groups within the Bantu expansions. So every village is doing the Mongolian smoke signal system up and down all the Green Sahara waterways. Cool. Now we got to throw in the taiko drumming system of ancient Japan as well. It's like, wait a minute, taiko drumming? Yes. Taiko drumming was used in military campaigns by the samurai because that's what their black ancestors brought from Africa as an already codified system of communication.
Yeah.
Holy shit. When did Japan get settled by the first Homo sapien Negroids? 23,000 BC. Oh my God. That's 10,000 years before Kemetic Egypt is even a Bantu linguistic group. And Old Japanese, as the Somali guy pointed out in his blog, is quite fucking clearly Nigerian Bantu, Cameroonian Bantu, whatever Bantu is going on in Central Africa. That's what the Japanese are using. And they're using the same damn drums to communicate about their river speaking in Central Africa in Japan. What is the fucking holdup?
Find full episodes of the podcast featuring straight facts on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Also, check out our Instagram for more Morocco Oris content, including the shop and our subscription service for exclusives. Peace, Mer. I'm Monroe.